How do you balance your business, your job, and your relationships? All right, let's get right into it. This is another episode of the League of Hustlers. I'm your co-host HT.
And I'm CD Barnes.
And today we're just going to talk about how to balance your business and your personal relationships, your marriages, right? Your significant others. How do we balance those? Okay, this can be this could be a right. This could be a very sensitive topic. It can be the way you handle it could ruin a relationship, or it could ruin a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
or it could strengthen your relationship. It can improve your relationship.
all about
And
perspective.
it could 10x your business.
Boom.
You know?
Exactly. Having the right team behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and that right support system. So basically, what we wanted to do is just give some tips on some insight that we've learned. We've been married to our significant others for quite a while at this point, and we've learned a lot of things along the way. We've also had businesses and jobs and stuff along the way. So this episode, we just wanted to talk about how to make that possible. Okay, so how to balance your business and your relationships. Before we jump right into it, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed, it will help out the algorithm. And definitely, if you're finding stuff that you find helpful in these episodes, consider subscribing, consider sharing it, right? That's important. That is very important. So we're going to jump right into it. How to balance your business and your relationships. Okay, number one. And we can just go back and forth with this. You need to forget your ego. Okay, forget your ego. And I want to preface all of these by saying a lot of this stuff is relevant to business and at the same time relevant to your relationships, right? These things kind of go hand in hand. Business is about relationships. Your relationship is about handling the business of the relationship. Okay? Yeah. So number one, forget your ego. Forget your ego. As a business leader, this is one thing that you have to learn, as well as in a relationship, you have to learn. Forget your ego. You got to let that go. Okay? You know, some things that don't sit with you well, you're gonna have to learn to sit with it. All right. Some things that in business, some things that you don't want to do, or that you may, a client that you may need to take on to make ends meet or to hit that quota or whatnot, you may have to take that client on. One thing that people like to point out a lot is, especially in business, sometimes you're going to have to do things that you might not want to do. Okay, you might have to go in and clean the toilets because a janitor or a housekeeper called out, right? You may have to work the register. You may have to vacuum the carpets, right? So if you go in with this ego, like I'm above this or I'm too good for this, that may hurt your business. Same thing in a relationship. If you go in with that big ego, hey, sometimes you may have to do something that you don't want to do. All right. But if you go in with that big ego, that could definitely hurt the relationship. Okay. Because it's not about you, it's about we. It's not about I, it's about we. All right. In a relationship. You got anything with that one, bro?
Yeah, just real quick. One of the things you brought up kind of reminded me of a interview Mike Tyson did. He was talking about he had a major fight. At that point in time, it was kind of a big moment for him. I can't recall exactly what fight it was, but it was like a big moment for him. He had just won. He's getting an interview. They're actually interviewing him in the gym. At that time, his trainer is still alive. Customato is still alive, so that he's having this interview and he's kind of high on the horse right now, and he's feeling great. Immediately after the interview is over, he goes over to Cuss, and Cuss is like, "Hey, you see that broom over there? Go grab that broom and sweep the gym." You know what I mean? So it's kind of like just keeping your ego in check, that you're not to the point where you can't do some tasks that may seem small or remedial. What you got to keep in mind is, as long as it's for the betterment of the team, for the betterment of the unit, um, you may have to do certain things. And like H was just saying, you may not like everything that you have to do, in regards to business, but if it boils down to business, you have to get the task done. If it boils down to fail or succeed, you need to get the task done. It's just that simple. So, keeping your own ego in check is a big one. You know, that's major. Check yourself before you wreck yourself, man. Check your ego. Check your ego. But next up, though, play your position, and this kind of goes hand in hand with that. It's a team scenario. Business is a team sport. Um, Relationships are team sports. So you have to play your position, and it really goes hand in hand with checking your ego. You come home from a big day of business, and you get home, and your partner or whoever you're in a relationship with, they may have something going on as well. So you may have to come in to the home scenario and get more work done.
Right.
Maybe dinner may be on you tonight. You may have to figure that out. So whatever that looks like, but it's just about playing your position. I don't think that you want to get to the point where you can't expect your partner to necessarily or whoever you're in a relationship, and it doesn't even have to be about a spouse. It could be friendships. It can be, you may have children, whatever the relationship is. Playing your position is about doing what needs to happen at that particular time. At this moment, I just came off a big business win. I walk in the house. At this point in time, I may need to be a dad. And not only a dad, but I may need to be, I might need to be pretending to be Superman or Iron Man. It might be playtime. Or I might be walking in as dad, and I may need to be a teacher. I may be, we might need to be talking about how to tie your shoes. So it's important, in regards to just balancing all these different roles, because when you take on business and you have relationships, you have to balance all of these different things. I can't take that same business ambition, bring it back into my relationships and attack them the same way. Totally different scenario. So it's just about being smart, play your position, use the tools that are necessary for that particular task. At this point in time, I need to be teaching about how to tie shoes, or playing, or prepping meals, or doing, listening, being an active listener. And then, get back to the business, and I might need to be ambitious and highly organized and setting up meetings and being driven and, being aggressive in some scenario. So it just depends. Whatever it is, though, play your position.
Right. Yeah, man. That's very important. Run the play. Run the play. Right. I play sports, all growing up. And for instance, in football, right? The quarterback, throwing to a receiver, a lot of times you have, as a quarterback, you have the plays, down pat. And what you'll see a lot of times is quarterback takes the hike, and boom, he'll throw it to a certain position or a certain spot on the field at a certain time. Why? Because, just off of muscle memory, he thinks that the receiver will be there. But if the receiver isn't playing this position and he's running the wrong route, you'll be like, where's the quarterback throwing the ball to? Like, why is he throwing it way over there? But a lot of times that's because that quarterback, he's expecting the receiver to be in that specific spot. at a specific time, right? At a specific count. 1, 2, 3, drop, boom, and I'm throwing it, right? But boom, the receiver isn't there. Why? He wasn't playing in his right position, right? So run the play, right? Your position will change as well, just depending on what's going on. Like CD was saying, stuff arises. You might have to, play a certain role at a certain point. Then you might have to immediately switch and play a different role. Okay. But a lot of this is about knowing each other, knowing, how the relationship is flowing, and also having that foresight, all right, to be able to adapt, call an audible, right? And if the audible is called, you need to know the position that you play with the audible. You see what I'm saying? So
quick.
Yeah. So it's a fluid thing, right? So when we say play your position, we're not solely talking about, sticking to one position and just hammering that home. We're also talking about being flexible and understanding what position you need to play at a specific time, right? And during specific scenarios. All right. Next is lead and be led, right? So with this one, you need to understand that a good leader knows how to be a good follower. All right. The best leaders know how to be a good follower, right? The best leaders are willing to do the things that the followers are doing. All right. And leading by example. How do you lead by example? Right? If you're at the top, how do you lead by example? You have to put yourself in the position of a follower, right? That's the only way, right? Who are you leading, right? If you're a leader and you're leading by example, what are you leading? You're leading the follower. So what do you need to do? You need to put yourself in the position of a follower and show how it needs to be done. If back to the example about, a housekeeper not being there, if you need to clean the toilets, or if the toilets aren't being cleaned in an appropriate way, you need to grab the mop, you need to grab the cleaning supplies, and you need to go and clean the toilets. Sometimes you have to show how it needs to be done, right? So lead by example. But at the same time, in order to lead effectively by example, you have to put yourself in a position of a follower, or as someone who's being led, right? So lead by example. And so know when to lead and also know when to be led. A lot of times, especially in business, you're not the subject matter expert. All right. You're not the one who fully understands a certain subject. If you have talented people working on your team, sometimes you have to step back and let them lead on specific things. The same thing in your relationships. If you're not, the best cook, sometimes you got to step back, or a lot of times you got to step back, right? And let the person who can, deal with the cooking or deal with whatever needs to be done. If it's with kids, if you're not the best, communicator when it comes to dealing with the kids, then you need to step back on that subject, right? But the same thing in that role, you have to be able to be led. It's nothing worse. I mean, I think we can all attest to this. It's nothing worse than having a leader who doesn't know how to be led, or who doesn't understand the struggles and the challenges that come from a different position, or a position that's under them, right? And so the good leaders are the ones who can really put themselves in the position of their followers, right? And that is like in line with being led. And so lead, understand, know how to lead, and also know how to be led. Okay? It's very important. Very important.
That's a big one. You have to, not only be able to give information, but you need to be able to receive information, receive information and actually take, solid action on it. As long as it's good, solid information, you're good to go. As long as you trust, if you trust who you're in business with, you should have no problem with your partners taking lead in certain scenarios, because you trust them as the subject matter expert for that particular topic. Maybe they have more experience in that lane. Maybe they have more connections in that lane. The same thing in relationships, like H was just saying. your partner, may have more experience, more knowledge, more insight, more information on a particular topic. This may
or
be,
just may be better than you at it.
it
You know what I
just
mean?
might be
Right?
better than you at it,
Yeah.
you know?
And sometimes it could be a traditional role, right, that you're just not good at. But
Mhm.
tradition says that you're supposed to lead in that role, but you know you're not good at it. Hey, sometimes you got to step back, right?
My thing is be valuable.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, my thing, be valuable. All right. Just because you don't know how to do something better than someone else doesn't mean that you totally remove yourself from that. All right. Because the situation will come, there will be a day when that task has to happen and that person may not be available to complete that task. And now you may want to fall back and cop out to the I don't know how to do that, I can't, or I don't, So make yourself valuable, be teachable, even if you aren't the best at a particular thing.
Right.
Maybe that person is taking the lead on that, but you need to know how to do it well enough that if they aren't there, that it can still get taken care of you know so lead and be led, definitely. Take the lead on situations where you know what needs to happen, and then also be a good student. That's one of the big things I like to fall back on is be a good student. Stay in the position of a student all the time. You should be around people who are better than you at something anyway. If you selected a good partner, they should be better than you at something. If we're
Right.
talking about relationships or business, either one, they should be better than you at something. And you need to be learning from them.
Yeah, man.
So, with that, compromise and communicate kind of goes hand in hand with lead and being led. It's really just about trusting your partner, business, or relationship, and, communicating with them that trust, or vice versa, them communicating with you, the plan. Communication is actually a big part of it. You can actually
Huge.
build trust based on communication. There's a lot of distrust that happens when there's a lack of communication, because I don't fully understand your plan. I don't fully understand, if you have an expert come in and tells you that, hey, I have to rebuild your whole, your whole roof. Your whole roof is bad. I have to rebuild the whole thing. I don't know about roofing, you know, but at the same time, to me, that sounds unbelievable. I don't believe him. So I'm going to get a second, third, fourth opinion. However, if he comes in and provides me with more information about the roof, if he communicates to me why, if he can show me, this, exactly what he's talking about, give me real data, real time frame, like just great communication behind that, then I would be more likely to trust his expert opinion on that thing. So, and that's just a part of being a good leader, and that's big in business and in relationships both. Being a good leader, you need to be a great communicator. In fact, I've had the opportunity to be around some great leaders within different organizations, and that is definitely a common thread among them all
Right.
that I've encountered. They're great communicators. They can clearly speak to the vision or the mission, the task, whatever needs to happen, and they can clearly present it to everyone in the room. And now everyone in the room can get on board with that task.
Right.
Every great leader that I've been in a room with, has had that as, a key component of their leadership makeup. What do you think about that? Compromise and communicate.
Yeah, man, that goes hand in hand because like what CD is talking about, that good leader, right? He or she is gonna communicate, the direction that the company needs to go, right? But at the same time, what's gonna happen is once that communication is put out there, people that are supposed to receive that communication are 9 times out of 10 gonna have some type of pushback or some type of concerns, right? And so that's where that compromise is going to have to come into play. That good leader is going to have to say, you know what? Dang, I didn't take that in consideration. Or you're right, I have to, modify the plan and do it a certain way. So communication isn't a one-way street. It's not just you giving directives, right? It's the same thing in relationships. It's not just one person giving all the directives. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. No, it's a give and a take. You're gonna put out there what the vision is or what the goal is for whatever the issue is, but also you're going to have to listen. Right. And from listening, you are going to hear where you're going to have to compromise. All right. And, it's this duality that's formed in any type of relationship between compromising and communicating, and then compromising. Right. And so it's this push and pull type of thing. It's this give and take type of thing. So the key to this is that you can't be this, stickler and this, strict ruler, quote unquote, that just pushes out directives and gives out commands and gives out orders without taking in consideration, the thoughts, feelings, concerns, and so forth of whoever you're communicating with, right? When my wife and I talking to people who just got married, or they'll ask us, what's the key to it? It's all about compromise. You're not perfect. Your partner isn't perfect, right? So you have to be able to compromise. You're not going to always hit the nail on the head every single time. Same thing in business. You're not going to always hit the nail on the head. You're not going to always get it right? But what you do need to do is communicate. Right? You need to let people know where you stand. You need to let people know what the goal is, what the objectives are. And, once you do that and they give you feedback on that, you have to be able to compromise. You have to be able to compromise. It's all about compromise. And this may be the most important point on here. Right. But communicate and compromise kind of sums up, all the other points, right? That's the key to it. That's the key to it. So, in business, you have these goals. In a relationship, you have these goals, right? That you need to communicate as a leader or as a follower. Same thing, right? Going, from the top down and from the bottom up, you got to be able to communicate. Also, you have to be able to compromise from the bottom up and from the top down. It's a give and take type of deal. All right. So if anything in this episode helped you out, you found anything beneficial, definitely go ahead and hit that like button, right? Give us a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Share this episode if you think that it will help someone that you know. And anything else, bro?
Yeah, actually, just real quick though, compromise, guys. All right, because some people hear that phrase or that term and they think it's like a small negative connotation to it. Like you have to give something that you didn't want to give, or you know what I mean? Like you had to, but don't look at it like it's not a negative thing. Compromise. It's not a negative thing. You're really just meeting, somebody in the middle, have that communication, have those conversations, get an understanding and meet in the middle,
Right.
meet on what makes sense for the team,
Right. It's not your way or the highway. You
right.
know what I mean?
It's really what's best for the team, what works best. I respect your opinion in business and relationship. You should have a partner that respects and trusts your opinion in business and or relationships. And then you guys can sit down and have that communication and come up with logically what makes sense, what's best.
Yep. So yeah, man, that's it for this episode. Again, make sure you share this if you found it helpful. Hit the like button. It really helps. Leave a comment if we missed anything, or if you think something else that will help people find that balance between business and their relationships. Definitely drop it in the comment section. All right. And as always, this has been another great episode of the League of Hustlers, where we prepare you to prosper. All right. So signing off.
All right.
Until next time.
We out.